Okay, welcome to another BAT setup. That's behavior adjustment training that was put together by Grisha Stewart. Um, it's something that Arnold and I have found, which I really believe in. I'm not a trainer. I'm just Arnold's owner. Um, but we've been doing this for a while, so I've been videotaping them. This is our final bat setup and training with a trainer who has had quite a bit of experience with this technique. It's fairly new to me, but I've been reading a lot and watching a lot of videos, and this is the last session we're going to have with our trainer Alaska and her helper dog Monroe. After this, we're going to start going off on our own and setting them up with some of my friends and their dogs. So we arrived at this hill, this field, probably 10 minutes or so before Alaska and Monroe came. And what I wanted to do here was film Arnold just walking around calmly and to kind of ground myself in what his body language was for the day. Because, things change and dogs have stresses we don't know about sometimes. We do drive over here. He's not real big in the car. And so sometimes it takes a few minutes for him to relax. The good thing is he looks pretty relaxed already. And this is just a couple minutes in. Um, so we're taking a few minutes waiting for our trainer to arrive and just here, reviewing his body language. Arnold's background is that I've had him for almost 4 months now. Before that, he was in foster care at a local rescue for 14 months. Um, they told me he was extremely fearful and leash reactive was the terminology they used. Um, he was. It took the first time I met him. It took him 30 minutes before he was confident enough to come over and take a treat out of my hand. As I've worked with him and people coming to my house now, structuring their introduction to him and not looking him in the eye for 5 or 10 minutes, and then kind of sitting down next to him, he he's like okay and takes a treat out of their hand. Doesn't go up to new people on his own, but he's very tolerant of people coming to him. I just instruct them not to, pat him on the head and do some things like that. So here we're just walking around. Um, there's some arousal and attentiveness to things that he's sniffing, and his tail will go out a little bit, his ears forward, like I think, most dogs will in situations like this. So here, what we're doing, since this is my final bat setup with the trainer, is what we've agreed is I am going to orchestrate this one, and in effect demonstrate to her how I would manage these on my own to get her thoughts of whether or not to push me out of the nest and to go off on my own. So there we were just confirming what the plans were, and then she's going back into the building and grabbing her dog as we walk around a little bit more. Between now and the last video, I got some wonderfully helpful comments from my previous video. The main one being that Arnold got fairly close to the helper dog quite a few times, and we had to have we had to interrupt him with some slow stops and even a full mark and move and really back away. Um, we're on this one going to take it a lot more slowly and not let him get as close as quickly. And that's, as we move forward, I'll probably play with that a little bit more. Watching his body language, I'm certainly becoming more and more aware of that every time we go out. But what I'm really thankful for, the people brought to my attention, was my body language and what I was doing and how that was affecting Arnold in the directions he would move. They pointed out that there's quite a few times that he looked back at me but I didn't really take that as a sign that he might want to move away from the trigger. So I'm being more attentive to that now. The other thing that was brought to my attention, and I knew this, but I hadn't really thought about it, is, dogs' peripheral vision is 270 degrees. It really kind of goes back behind them, where us humans were kind of limited to just 180 degrees. So I didn't really need to walk all the way up to him before I opened up my body language or my body and just said, "Hey, which way do you want to go?" So what I'm doing now is giving him more leash to work on, unless we would get closer to the dog and want that distance reduced so that I have more really for braking distance and that kind of thing. And just giving him his head a little bit more, letting him make decisions. There's, in this bat training, it's all about the dog deciding what they want to do, but I've certainly come to realize that the handler still has quite a bit of control in suggesting what to do and those types of things. So it's a real balance. It's kind of the art to it, I guess, and that's the fun part for me. So there you can see his tail's up, but that's kind of normal body posture. He's exploring a little bit there at the edge of the field into the woods, where there's probably some additional smells and things. So now Monroe, I think around here is starting to come up way back to the left here in the field. Arnold is kind of picking up his pace on here a little bit, walking not really directly towards Monroe, but in that direction. But that was kind of the plan, that Monroe would come up one side, we'd go down the other. Um, and here pretty soon, I think Arnold knows he's there. If not, he certainly will pretty soon. But we reached the edge of where the camera was picking up. So this is skipping forward now, not maybe a minute or so. That's Monroe with Laska, and uh, that's just showing that they're coming in, going up again on the edge of the field along the woods there, and we're coming down the other side, so that in the end, Monroe will be at the top of the field. We'll be more at the bottom, and there we are. So we're at the bottom of the field. Monroe's at the top, and let's see what Arnold does. He's going pretty directly, so I'm kind of cautious about that. I'm not sure if I did a slow stop there or not, um, but certainly encouraging him when he's kind of focused and going real directly to slow down a little bit, sniff the dandelions there today, and take his time. There he certainly is, looking at Monroe. 1, 2, 4 seconds. Okay, that's a little bit. Let's head over this way, buddy. So I didn't take him away from the trigger, just kind of talked to him and said, "Hey, let's go." Disengage him from the steering, and he's still kind of going back up. And it's like, "Hey, a dog, let's go over here." Here I'm gesturing for the helper dog. Why don't you move over? One thing I really wanted to practice today was more following. The previous bat setup was more um, handling Arnold with a stationary target, and here I wanted it moving a little bit, moving away only, certainly not towards him, and see how that went. What I did learn from this day is that when the target was moving away, excuse me, he seemed to really want to follow. Um, with an arousal level, not necessarily stress, but almost like a prey drive kind of thing, wanting to chase after. So I wasn't quite sure how to handle that, and decided for now, no. If you're really taken off towards the target, it might have been fine. Um, but we decided to take it slow today. So this is a location where Monroe was for a little while. So Arnold seems to want to kind of sniff around there. What Alaska had done also is dropped a few extra treats, and he was searching around for quite a while. We skipped ahead here a little bit because we were in that spot for probably about 5 minutes. Um, there were quite a few treats that there on the ground, and he was sniffing around, which is good. Probably more treats than we had intended, but that was good to encourage that. Hey, there's a reward for just being yourself, sniffing around, having fun. Don't need to be fully engaged, only with worrying about this other dog. There's tails out pretty straight. I kind of backed away, turned my body without saying anything in a way to kind of encourage him. Hey, you might want to go this way. If you don't, that's fine. But what do you want to do? So he did back away, kind of took my signal, but went around me, and there he's going back out again. So here's it's like slow stop. 1, 2, 3. No, he's going forward again. Another little bit of a stop. Then okay, come on, bud. There, I actually called him away that time, and went around me. He did what I wanted him to do, but still interested to move forward. And here we're moving out of camera range again. Okay, this is about 5 minutes later. We took a break. Arnold was pretty engaged when Monroe was moving as we were trying to follow. That was a new thing that we're trying this time, and I wasn't quite sure what Arnold's reaction would be. And he seemed fairly relaxed, but he was moving pretty quickly, almost kind of like a prey drive kind of thing. So we took a break, and now we're starting again with Monroe at the other end, and we're going to come up to the side.
Our thoughts now is we're going to go around the outside. When his tail starts coming up, then you start moving.
So you probably heard that by just saying that we'll do the moving thing again, um, but I wanted Monroe to be stationary until Arnold was kind of stepping into the green zone where his tail was come up a little bit and kind of engaged, and then have Monroe move away. At this stage, I was still kind of thinking that moving would be a calmer thing for him than a stationary dog. I'm not sure that it is after the whole day was over, but that's how you learn. So there he's moving up the side. I'm not sure if I called him back there. Probably did. Yeah, he kind of circled around me and headed towards Monroe again, which is fine if that's what he wants to do. We don't have a lot of experience. We haven't actually done any actual meetings or greetings yet, and I want to give him a little bit more time with that. This is about the fifth time we've used this dog, so I feel like we've kind of used him up, and that's another reason we're going to move off on our own. It's the only dog that Alaska has available for her, and I have a few friends that have agreed to be guinea pigs in this, but I'm going to take some time and get Arnold fully muzzle trained and comfortable with that and happy to wear a muzzle before I really allow him to get too close to any other dog. He's never bitten another dog. I don't know if he would. He just approaches with some intent, kind of snarly and growls. He doesn't hear at all here because we didn't get that close. Yeah, we're just talking about whenever they stop and start taking off again. One thing we had agreed beforehand is as they leave a spot where Monroe had been standing, then Alaska drops a few treats, and that encourages Arnold to sniff around where Monroe had been and take that in. So here I just zoomed back out to kind of show how close they were. This whole session, we didn't get as close as we did last session at all for several reasons. One is um, he probably I probably let him get into the yellow zone last time, and that was not my intent. So I'm trying to keep him certainly in the blue zone, but kind of on the edge and into the green um, on this one. And since we're practicing the technique of following another dog, and that's kind of new. One thing that kind of was surprised me was that Arnold is really interested to want to follow. I don't know what that means yet. We'll probably allow him to get closer to another dog in the future while following. But when I start doing this with some of my friends' dogs, and it's just me, and I don't have a professional there to watch body language and give instruction, I'm gonna wait and do that after I have him fully muzzle trained. He's about halfway there now. He's comfortable with taking treats in the muzzle. He's comfortable with it being latched behind his head. Um, but I want him to really see that really happy and fun things happen with the muzzle on, and then take him out on a few just walks, short ones, and then some longer ones before I start doing bat setups with him. I don't want him to think of the muzzle as being, oh, I'm going to be around those scary monsters, those dogs again. Now here's another time when last guy I think dropped a few more treats than she intended to, so we got a little stuck. So I'm gonna take this opportunity while we're just kind of watching him, and I'm watching myself too to see how I encourage him to move away. If I'm encouraging him too much, I'm trying not to. But anyway, um, so Arnold was found as a stray in Texas at about 8 weeks old, with a sister, and they both had mange, and so they were taken into foster care in Texas uh, and cured of their mange, and then that particular rescue down there ships a lot of the puppies. They usually deal in puppies and pull them out of the local animal control and shipped them to Minneapolis in Minnesota. So he was in foster care here in Minnesota for 14 months. Um, I don't know. I have this feeling that he might even have gotten worse. A lot of being part of a rescue and foster care is you have to take dogs to adoption events, and he was pretty fearful, still is, of people. He's getting more confident, and somewhere along the line got a little leash reactive, and um, had some uh, socialization with other dogs, some kind of problem there too. When I got him, I knew he was quote unquote leash reactive, but not how much. So part of a lot of what I do with my other dogs has always been to go to dog parks. So after I'd had him for about 3 weeks, we did go to a dog park. He did pretty well. I go back and look at those videos now that I'm more attuned to stress signals and body language, and I see that he was pretty stressed. But he was, interacting and met some dogs on his own and had fun and played and chased, and he likes to run. He's part whippet, so it was pretty good. But he then encountered one dog and engaged with it in, he's not real social in his introductions, and this dog didn't appreciate it, and he got bit. Not badly, just a little bit, little on the face, kind of like puppies do sometimes, a little scab kind of thing. But um, when we tried to go back to the dog park after that, uh, he was much more on guard and wanted to chase all the dogs away and just chased after them. So I realized something was different, and that was almost 3 months ago now. So we haven't been back to the dog park, and I've been structuring his environment and not really allowing him to engage with other dogs except my other dog, which is his best friend. They play pretty hard, um, and she's teaching him, um, you know, to disengage, shake it off, um, and he's mimicking some of those behaviors. So that's pretty good. So the bat training is really to hopefully get him back to at least where he was. Now he's a little bit more confident, and we don't know exactly what he'll do when he meets another dog. But hope, but with enough of this training, and we see that it's going pretty well, then we'll do a couple, half-second sniffs and those types of things, and then start taking cues. A lot of it's going to be, I think, the selection of the other dog. Certainly, um, dogs that want to get in his face are dogs he's never going to get along with. But hopefully, we can find half a dozen that he can become friends with, and then hopefully he can generalize and realize that dogs overall aren't too bad, and he won't react to so many out on walks and things like that. So not a lot going on here. Monroe did move down. Um, we got stuck there with all the treats there for quite a while, and here I'm actually about ready to run out of memory in my camera, but that was about the end of the session anyway. So a pretty good one. Alaska told me thumbs up. Yep, push me out of the nest. Go out and do these on your own.